I'm at the water park with my family for one final hurrah before the kids have to go back to school. But that didn't stop me from watching UFC Denver. I'm in the lazy river. I'm watching the fights on my phone, trying not to pee in front of everybody. And here I am with my phone propped on top of a trash can outside at 7 o'clock in the morning so I can recap the entire UFC Denver fight card. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to react and recap UFC Denver. UFC Denver was sort of a disaster to begin with. We headed into fight week with only 7 shored up fights. They had to give Jasmine a new opponent, they added 4 other fights, and then we finally had a complete card. We were worried about elevation going into the week, and it didn't seem to be that big of a factor. Certainly a couple of finishes I didn't see coming, a couple of fights that went the distance that maybe wouldn't have in normal circumstances, but elevation wasn't a disaster. They avoided heavyweights, they avoided some sloppies, and overall it was a decent fight card. It was pretty fun to watch on a small screen, albeit, but there was a few things that I wanted to talk about. We'll just go fight by fight, and I am going to have to look at my phone because there's no way I'm going to remember all of this. Evan Elder, Darrius Flowers, that was the last fight added to the card. They literally added that publicly on Wednesday, so they probably sorted it out Monday or Tuesday. These guys had 4 or 5 days to figure that out. That was crazy. Evan Elder was a massive favorite. When I saw the Evan Elder versus Darrius Flowers matchup, I instantly was like, shit, I already have the safety parlay. Evan in the safety parlay would have been great. And that gut reaction was because Darrius Flowers is not good. My gut reaction was Darrius sucks. Whoever he's fighting, boom, pick the other side. Then I did a little research, let the instant reaction go away, did what I was supposed to do, right? Watch the tape, look at the notes, and then I was like, all right, Evan Elder's still gonna win, but Darrius can be a dangerous guy. But if you look at Darrius Flowers' announcement, I have a fight booked, it was loaded with excuses. I didn't want to step up on short notice again, but here I am. I don't want to fight on elevation, but here I am. Do what you got to do, which is basically like, I'm going to lose, but just a reminder, this is short notice and elevation, so don't forget when I get smoked. And that's what happened. Evan Elder smoked him. Out-grappled the guy who was supposed to be the better grappler, out-struck him, did all the things. Evan Elder, it's tough to say how good he is or isn't, but it is fair enough to say that Darrius Flowers probably not UFC caliber. He will get another fight because that's what happens. You step up on short notice, you do the UFC a favor, they do you a favor, you get a new contract, you get some extensions there. Darrius Flowers not UFC caliber. Evan Elder is a dog. We know he can strike, we know he can grapple now, and as long as he shores up some of the defense, he might be able to do some stuff in the future. Andre Petroski, Josh Fremd. All week long, I was like, don't bet on this fight. Andre Petroski just knocked himself out. Josh Fremd's not that good. I was very confident Andre Petroski was going to win, right? The breakdown was he's the much better grappler. He hits a lot harder. He's the better fighter. I don't know how Josh Fremd wins outside of Andre Petroski completely gassing. That was the big concern. It's elevation. We've seen him gas in 3-round fights at normal height, let alone at elevation. He looked pretty good. It was boring as shit. It was a wet blanket effort, right? Takedowns, control, and that's about it. But that's all you needed. That's all he needed. Yes, it was boring. Did you watch that and say, I can't wait to see Andre Petroski fight again? No. Did you watch that and say, Josh Fremd's not very good? Yes. The funniest part about that is Josh Fremd got beat 30-27 across the board, or at least should have been, had almost no moments of success whatsoever. In the 3rd round, Andre Petroski is exhausted. That's Josh Fremd's opportunity. He's exhausted, poured on. He came out hot. He poured it on early. Andre Petroski has 1/100th of a takedown. Josh Fremd pulls guillotine. Just some wild jiu-jitsu nerd, no fight IQ bullshit. You gave that fight up. I don't know why you did that. You just got controlled for 10 minutes with no success whatsoever. So your genius idea was, let me pull guillotine so I can end up on my back again, the 3rd round in a row. He lost that fight on his own. The funniest part, though, is not 10 minutes after that fight was over, he's tweeting, heard you need a dance opponent, calling out the worst fighters on the UFC roster. Heard you need a dance opponent for September. Bro, you're cut. You're cut. What do you mean you need an opponent for September? So that didn't go the way that he thought it would. Then Luana Santos, Mariya Agapova. That went exactly how we thought that would go. Luana Santos is the real deal. First of all, I guess not exactly, because I didn't think Luana Santos would be dropping Mariya Agapova with a strike. Just boom, right down the middle, dropped her, put her on her ass, and then as soon as there was any bit of scramble, what happened? Luana Santos launched, clean launched her over her head, tossed her on her ass, and that is what we talked about on the stream. Defending wrestling takedowns and defending judo throws are very different games. So defending the judo throws didn't go well for Mariya Agapova. She got launched. Once it hit the ground, the gap, the skill difference, tremendous. Absolutely tremendous skill difference on the gap. And we knew that was going to happen, right? We knew if this stayed striking and for some reason Luana couldn't get the takedowns, there would be a whole situation there, but Luana did get the takedown. Dropped her with a punch, surprising. Launched her as soon as they were in any contact whatsoever, and then once it was on the ground, it was over. Luana Santos was the most confident pick on the card for the whole week, and it looked like that. There wasn't even 5 seconds where Luana didn't look great. So curious to see what her future matchups are, but as long as she's launching people like that, and if her hands are evolving and she's dropping pure strikers, Luana Santos might be a problem in the future. Montel Jackson, DaMon Blackshear, I'm going to spend more time talking about this than the fight lasted. I had Montel Jackson. I picked Montel Jackson. I was pretty confident in Montel Jackson, but I did what everybody else did. I looked at the DaMon Blackshear record, and I was like, man, his losses are good. He's only losing to good people. Oh, this is a quality loss. This is a quality loss. Oh, that's a good loss too. And I was like, DaMon Blackshear is a good fighter, which he is. But Montel Jackson is just so fast. He hits so hard. That fight was 30 seconds, boom, right up the pipe. Dropped DaMon Blackshear, done. Just done. And as a fan who did not bet on that fight, because you guys know me, conservative Ange, I'm not betting on all the fights. I'm only betting where I'm super confident or where there's insane value and I'm kind of confident. What I don't do is say, this is a good underdog. Let me just throw money on it and see what happens. And I know a lot of people do that, and that is a strategy. But everybody who did that for DaMon Blackshear got smoked. And it sucks to get smoked like that. Like if you were a Drew Dober bettor, and we'll break that fight down later, at least you got some back and forth. At least you got a guy going to bet on DaMon Blackshear and watch him get smoked like that is brutal. That was brutal if you had money there. And point being, it wasn't a bad bet before the fight. DaMon Blackshear is a very good fighter, very skilled fighter, great losses. But in hindsight, losing those bets in 5 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it was, is tough. Montel Jackson, that power is crazy. I don't know what we're going to see from him next, but Montel Jackson is very, very good, and he earned that quick name. Jasmine Jasudavicius, Fatima Kline. We love Jazzy here. I've picked Jasmine Jasudavicius to win every single fight she's ever been in the UFC, and I was wrong twice. I wasn't wrong this time. What I was, though, is a coward. Because when Jasmine opened up, I had her full unit beating Viviane Araújo. Easy money, full unit minus 140, loved it. She drops, Fatima Kline comes in. When Fatima Kline comes in, Jasmine Jasudavicius was a minus 200 favorite. In 3 days' time, all of a sudden, Jasmine becomes a plus 170 underdog. And I was like, what am I missing? I have to be missing something. Jasmine smokes this chick, right? This chick's too small, not dangerous enough. Jasmine's too good of a wrestler, and she's the one who had the full camp. What am I missing? And I scared myself. I genuinely scared myself out of the bet. I literally was like, I have to be missing something. I watched the tape over and over. I'm like, Fatima's good, but she's small as hell. Fatima's good, but she doesn't have the wrestling she needs. Fatima's good, but she's not going to throw up a Hail Mary submission here. What am I missing? And I was too afraid to bet on it. Jacob wasn't. Jacob literally texted me, don't be a pussy. 2 seconds later, I see Jacob's bet in premium, Jasmine Jasudavicius plus 145, whatever the hell he got her at. And I didn't end up betting on her, because then the line corrected itself and Jasmine closed as the favorite. I'd rather miss out on a bet that I should have placed than place a bet I shouldn't have, so it is what it is. But I was confident in Jasmine. I had Jasmine in DraftKings. Jasmine was always the right side. The bet I did have on her, though, was most takedowns. And early, it was like, holy shit, she got taken down. Fatima took her down. Oh, my God, I'm going to lose that bet. And then it went the way it should have. Jasmine's a dog. She moves forward. She throws strikes in your face. She will shoot takedowns. She will bully you. She'll toss you around. That's the difference. The way Jasmine fights is the difference between somebody who learned how to wrestle for MMA versus somebody who's been wrestling her whole life. She's winning the scrambles. She's pushing you around. She's beating you up. She's staying heavy on you. Fighting Jasmine is just brutal. She's hanging on your neck. Like, it's just a tough outing. Fatima Kline stepped up on short notice. That is a factor here. That was part of the factor in the fight. But Fatima Kline just too small, not enough. You can't really judge a debuting fighter like that on short notice. So we'll know more in Fatima Kline's next fight, what she's able to do or not do with a full camp and a proper matchup. Charles Johnson, Joshua Van. Had the pick right, got one of the bets right, got burned on the other bet. I had Charles Johnson. I had a money line plus 170. You got better value. He closed at plus 2 something. I just didn't understand why that line was widening. It didn't make sense to me. And I didn't even have enough money on Charles Johnson. I should have put more. But again, I get in my own head. I look at the line. I see who I think is going to win. And then I'm like, what am I missing? I have to be missing something. For this to be the line, I'm missing something. What am I missing? And it was certainly a close fight. It was a very close. If that went to the judges' scorecard, it would have been interesting to see what was going to happen. It was definitely a close fight. But I thought Charles Johnson was going to win. It was the veteran savvy and just the bicycle cardio that had me going, I got to go Charles Johnson here. He's been around forever. He's fought the higher level of competition. Here we go. The knockout is where I got burned. So I made all my money on Charles Johnson plus 170 money line. I got burned on the over 2.5. Burned. Who the hell thought Charles Johnson would be the one, bink, knocking people out? He knocked out Jimmy Flick one time. Jimmy Flick sucks. Knocking out Josh Van, who's young, so his should have a solid chin, right? Young guys, they're not worn out, they're not used up yet. He's a young guy who has a solid chin, a fast guy. He was supposed to be the better striker, right? The more powerful striker, in and out moving. Josh Van's very, very good. I did not see Charles Johnson knocking out Josh Van. That was not on my bingo card for last night. It was a bad night. I mean, he was out. Hopefully, he doesn't come back too quickly. What have we seen? We've seen a lot of really good fighters get their first knockout loss, come back way too quickly, and their chin never recovers. Josh Van, you are a young guy. Take the time. Stay out 8 months, 9 months. Let that chin fully heal up, fully recover. Do some jiu-jitsu tournaments if you want to stay busy, but do not come back too soon. You got to let that chin heal up. Charles Johnson is feeling himself. That's 3 in a row. He started his UFC career a bit rocky. The only win he had was against that bum Jimmy Flick. But the losses were wrestling match losses. He was losing wrestling matches. And then all of a sudden, he's on this little win streak. The Izat Maxim fight, he seemed to like find himself in that fight. Went through hell and back. Then he came out, beat, was it Nathaniel Wood? He beat that itty bitty boy. And then he was coming into this fight with a new contract, all the confidence in the world, ready to go. Looked good. It was a back and forth fight. I don't want to create the illusion that Joshua Van got his ass kicked. I mean, he got finished in the 3rd round, but I don't want to create this illusion that Joshua Van was getting smoked. It was a very close fight, good back and forth fight. They both learned a lot from it, but the veteran savvy, the been there, the done that, the tried and true vet was able to get it done. I do think elevation was a factor. Do you really think, and I said that with a little bit of aggression, like you're an idiot, do you think that if this wasn't at elevation, we would have seen a 3rd round knockout from Charles Johnson? I don't think so. I think the extra breathing, the mouth open, I think all of that stuff factored in to the knockout there. But either way, great for Charles Johnson. I made plenty of money on the plus 170 money line. Then we had a Cody Brundage fight, the most typical Cody Brundage fight you're gonna get. Came out guns blazing, a little bit of adversity, controversial outcome. It's a Cody Brundage fight. We almost had a back of the head strike that turned into a Cody Brundage win. We almost had that. And honestly, that is probably what should have been the outcome, because he got struck in the back of the head several times over. The referee noted it, said it, watched the back of the head, and then the strikes kept coming, and then they had to call the fight off. Cody Brundage, in my opinion, was not acting. This wasn't the Jacob Malkoun situation, right? He deserves an Oscar for Jacob Malkoun fight. This one was sincere. He genuinely was out of it. Those strikes were a real problem. So I don't want people piling on Cody, blah, blah, blah. You want to do that in the Cody Brundage or the Jacob Malkoun fight, fine. That was acting, right? That was nice job. This one was genuine. Now, was it the strikes to the front of the face that maybe set up the back of the head stuff? Of course. But the reality is those strikes to the back of the head were a problem. They were illegal. The referee did note it wasn't accidental. Like, accidental is you're striking, then the guy turns his head, you're still striking, but the guy turned his head and that's why you hit the back. That's not really what happened in that situation. Either way, no contest. Neither guy won, neither guy lost. And I'm not pretending to know the rule book inside and out, start to finish, but I do think that if that was handled 100% officially by the book, that was probably a DQ win for Cody Brundage. Either way, I'm totally fine with a no contest. A DQ win is brutal. I can't think of an appropriate DQ win, right? John Jones's only loss was a DQ win on the other side for an illegal back of the head strike. Was it a loss? No, he beat the absolute piss out of Matt Hamill, and then that happened. The Jacob Mulcoon fight, similar situation. Jacob Mulcoon was winning that fight. And then all of a sudden, it goes to Cody Brundage. This is a similar situation. Abdul Razak Alhassan was winning that fight. Was winning the fight. He was going to win that fight. If we didn't have that little bit of controversy there, it was an Abdul Razak Alhassan win after an off the hook, just unhinged press conference from him. Typical, very typical Cody Brundage fight. Julian Erosa finally stops the hype train of Christian Rodriguez. I'm not a fan of Christian Rodriguez. Those last 3 wins all had asterisks. Missed weight, didn't win. And Jacob talked about it all week. There's MMA karma. You get some decisions you shouldn't get. There's some karma waiting around the corner, hiding in the bushes for you. And that's sort of what Christian Rodriguez got. And it's funny because it literally was perfect karma. Because I didn't watch that fight and say, oh, Christian sucks, fraud check. He looked good. Christian looked good. He's a good fighter. He's a skilled fighter. Christian looked good in that fight. And then got choked out by a savvy veteran who was way too long and way too big. Christian Rodriguez is a 135-pounder that can't get his weight under control. Now at 145 pounds, these guys are a little bigger. They're able to push you around. They're able to do something. Isaac Dolgarian was tooling Christian Rodriguez. The only reason Christian had that success in the third round is because Isaac full-blown gassed. Full gassed. If Isaac had cardio, Christian gets smoked in that fight. And now he's in this fight, fighting somebody much larger than him. Christian can't be a weight bully, can't push you around, can't take advantage of a missed weight, can't take advantage of the fact that he's just the bigger guy by default. And he got choked out. Now, if I take my bias aside, Christian Rodriguez is a good fighter. All the skills are there, the technique is there, the fight IQ is there, and sometimes you just get caught. And he wasn't caught with poor technique. Had a nice takedown, and the dude whose arms are as long as mine, but only 145 pounds, was able to sneak up, suck in a guillotine. That's what Julian Erosa does. That's not the first time Julian Erosa has pulled off some nonsense early, especially with a guillotine. So I actually no love lost there, but Christian Rodriguez didn't look bad. This is not a fraud check situation. He just made, I don't even want to say made a mistake. Obviously, chin down, elbows in, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is Christian Rodriguez looked decent, then that got sucked up there. Then we had Gabriel Bonfim, Angelo. So Gabriel Bonfim finally goes to a decision. His first decision ever at elevation. We needed to see it, got it done. I think he looked good the whole time. He had some explosiveness, and they certainly slowed down, breathing heavy, all those things, but Angelos is incredibly durable. Angelos is incredibly tough. I was worried about what a full decision fight was going to look like. That's why I didn't bet on Gabriel Bonfim. My initial gut reaction was safety parlay, Luana, Santos, Gabriel Bonfim. Gabriel's better than Angelosa literally everywhere. But it's like I can't do that. Until I see Gabriel Bonfim go to a decision, I can't possibly expect him to, let alone at elevation. So he didn't make his way into the safety parlay. But he looked in that fight like he was better everywhere. And I think he was better everywhere. He hits hard. He's got great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. Gabriel Bonfim is very good. I think he shut a lot of people up. Hey, I meant to my first decision. I did it at elevation, and I didn't death gas and just hang on in the third round trying to squeak something out. Continue to move forward, continue to do stuff. Angelosa was there. Angelosa was bombing. Angelosa was trying to make stuff happen too. That was a very good fight, very entertaining fight, and that needed to happen for both of them. Angelosa needed to get bullied, pushed around a little bit. He had some karma coming his way from his last fight with the eye poke. And Gabriel Bonfim needed to be in a dog, it wasn't a dog fight because he wasn't in a ton of trouble there, but needed to be in a 3-round back and forth fight to show us and show himself that he could do that, especially at elevation. Then we had Jean Silva and Drew Dober. Jacob's underdog lock of the week, Jean Silva. I was high on Jean Silva early. I bet on Jean Silva. Got a money line on him, plus money before that line fully flipped. But then as the week went on, I'm like, oh man, I started to doubt myself. Drew Dober is big. Drew Dober is durable. Drew Dober's got a chin. Cutting weight twice in 2 weeks with a quick turnaround doesn't really go well for a lot of people. So I started to get nervous, more and more nervous as the week went on. And thankfully, I already had that bet locked in, because if I didn't have that bet early, I wasn't going to place a bet. I was talking myself out of it. Jean Silva looked good. There were moments where I was like, oh man, because Drew Dober just ate a spinning back elbow, the first one. Then 2 others came and he got dropped. But Drew Dober was eating stuff left and right. That's what he does with that chin. And I started to get nervous. I'm like, man, Jean Silva's going to fade. He's going to fade. Drew Dober's just going to keep marching forward. Jean Silva's going to get frustrated that he's lighting this guy up and nothing's happening. And that's not what happened. Jean Silva stayed composed, was clearly the faster guy, the better guy. Probably not the more powerful guy, but it didn't matter because he was so fast and so clean that he was touching Drew whenever he wanted. And then ultimately it was that giant gash above Drew's eye that was a problem. I think Jean Silva was going to win if it went to a scorecard anyway, so I don't think the cut saved him. But that cut was nasty. Those spinning back elbows are nasty. It is awesome to watch Jean Silva fight. It is awesome to watch him be that clean with his technique, but also creative. To be that clean and that fast and then still throw spinning back elbows. Still defend takedowns. Like, Jean Silva is very, very good, and he's the type of guy right now that he's feeling himself. 2 quick wins in a row, 3 wins in the last couple of months. He's the type of guy that if he just continues this little hype train, part of that Fight Nerds gym, they're all doing really well. If he continues this, all of a sudden, Jean Silva's 145 pounder that a lot of people are talking about, and the UFC is going to give some opportunities to. I'm looking forward to his next fight. And Drew Dober, that dude's all class. All class. Took the microphone, nothing but positive vibes, positive energy. Yeah, I've got caveman eyebrows. It's split open. It is what it is. I'll be back. But guys, who cares? We're here to fight. I took a fight in a few days' notice. He took a fight in a few days' notice. He's the man. Like, it was all positive. That energy was unbelievable. And if you don't love Drew Dober, what the hell are you doing? Like, what sport are you watching if you don't love Drew Dober? Is he going to win every fight? No. Nobody does. Khabib did. He retired at his peak, never fully tested by one of the younger guys. Outside of that, show me somebody who's retiring undefeated on top. Show me somebody who goes undefeated forever. It's not going to happen. So Drew Dober, yeah, there's a bunch of losses in there, but he comes out there, puts on a show every single time, has fun, all class, no excuses. Gotta love Drew Dober. Jean Silva, very curious what the UFC is going to do with him next, because he's a guy all of a sudden at 145 pounds. Let's see him versus Ilya. Not yet. He's not ready. But all of a sudden, that striking gets better and better. The takedown defense is there. He could be a problem for a lot of people. Then we had the co-main event, Muslim Salikov and Santiago Ponzinibbio. That fight was more entertaining than I thought it would be, but not great. We had a couple of older guys just sort of bombing. And watching the fight, I watched that in bed. We're in bed, we're done with the water park, everybody's a little sunburned, we're at the hotel, I'm watching it on my little iPhone, I don't even have a Max, my little iPhone on mute like this, without any audio, just watching the fight. It looked like Ponzinibbio won. It looked like he was dictating, it looked like he was moving forward, he looked cleaner. But then when the fight was over and they raised Salikov's hand, and I went to go look up all the stats, Salikov won statistically. He landed far more strikes. So it was just funny to see, like, an optical illusion where if you asked me, Angelo, who landed more strikes in this fight, it would have been like Ponzinibbio. But that literally is not what happened. So it's interesting to watch the fight that way. I don't know what the commentary was saying. I didn't watch it with audio. But it did feel like Ponzinibbio was winning, that he was the one pushing. He was the one landing the cleaner, better strikes. But ultimately, that's not how that decision went. And on one hand, it's like, oh, a bad decision. I think it was close enough that it wasn't a bad decision. I would have scored it the other way, but I think it was close enough that it just is what it is. It's a close enough fight. Should have done a little more. You had a takedown. Should have done more. Should have gone out there, tried to take his head off. You're not young, but you're certainly younger than Muslim Salikov. Either way, should that have been a co-main event? Of course not. Drew Dober should have been the co-main event. 100%. At home, knowing how he fights, he should have been the co-main event. So should have a 38-year-old Ponzinibbio and a 40-year-old Salikov been the co-main? No. Did they go out there and actually fight like men? Yeah, they did. So entertaining means nothing for the division. It is what it is. Both of them should just sort of find their way into an undercard. Main event, Rose versus Tracy. I was very high on Rose Namajunas. Very high on Rose Namajunas. I didn't bet on her until the last day. I placed a 1-unit bet on Rose Friday. I was like, you know what? She is going to smoke. The weigh-ins tipped the scale for me. The weigh-ins are when I was like, yeah, she's going to win this fight. When I saw Tracy struggle to make weight, cut her hair off, I don't know if that was a gimmick or what. I don't know how much hair weighs, but like the fact that you couldn't spit out the half a pound Like, we'd be on the wrestling bus with Skittles in our mouth, just getting the saliva going, just spitting in a bottle. You'd lose anywhere from a 1/10 of a pound to a 1/2 a pound, depending how long that bus ride was and how hydrated you were. It was bizarre to me that Tracy Cortez's first, just cut my hair off. It's like, just instantly cut the hair off? I get you've been cutting weight, I don't know what's left, but like, you're not gonna try spitting in a bottle? Like, try sweating a little bit, scraping it all off with a credit card? Like, you're just immediately going to cut the hair off? And then cut it here, not here. I'm not saying it was a pre-planned gimmick, but it did seem a little extreme. Either way, once I saw, okay, Tracy took this fight on short notice. She went from preparing for a 3-round fight to preparing for a 5-round fight. She moved her fight camp up a week early, is now fighting at elevation, and struggled to make weight. She's not winning this fight. I was very high on Rose. I thought she would just be diving at legs. Rose would be stuffing all of them, touching her up, and there was an element of that. I thought Rose won 5-0. Jacob was texting me updates all. I fell asleep, and Jacob was texting me updates all night. Just this would happen, that would happen. I woke up. I saw that Rose won. I saw the money in my Venmo because I bet Jacob $500 on that fight. I saw the money in my Venmo. Then I was like, I got to watch this fight before I do this recap. So then I watched it. I was like, look good. Couple takeaways. Rose is a very good fighter. She's easy to dislike because she says some bizarre things and her coach is a turd. But she's a very good fighter. She has been at the top of the food chain for years. Multiple-time world champion. One of the very few people that lost her belt and earned it back. Almost nobody does that. All-time greats have not been able to do that. Go ask Kamaru Usman how that worked out for him. Ask Volkanovski how that's gonna work out for him. But all of a sudden, Rose Namajunas was able to lose her belt, earn it back, work her way up a new weight class. And at 125, she's not looking terrible. She lost to Manon Fiorot, who might be a world champion. The fight with Amanda Ribas was very, very close, back and forth, sort of a dogfight. And then last night was a dogfight as well. Rose is very gritty. Rose has very good striking. Rose is technical. She's got good offensive takedowns and good takedown defense. She was taking down Tracy. Mixing it up. And it's easy to rag on Pat Barry for being a trash coach. That was actually one of the few times they had a good game plan. And I don't know how much of that was game planning, right? I don't know how much of it was, hey, go wrestle the wrestler. Or Rose, because she's a high-level, high IQ fighter, making those decisions in the moment. I don't know what was pre-planned and what wasn't, but either way, mixing in the striking and then shooting her own takedowns to get Tracy completely out of sorts was spectacular. I thought Rose looked great. If we go to the Tracy side, absolute dog. Absolute dog. Good for Tracy Cortez. Short notice, at elevation, 5-round fight. I mean, those are big decisions to make, career-defining decisions to make. And she went out there, and people are going to clown her because an eyelash fell off, and I've already seen all over the internet, oh, too worried about being pretty than learning how to fight. Bullshit. She went out there and fought like a dog. She didn't quit on herself. She continued to move forward with one eyelash. Didn't matter. Didn't stop her. Cut the hair off, gimmick or not, cut her hair off, made the weight, like did all the things. And is a true dog. It actually makes sense why her and the co-main event quitter Brian Ortega, why they were together for so long. They're actually very similar. Let's go, let's fight, let's be dogs. So a lot of respect to Tracy Cortez. She just wasn't the better fighter. Even with a full fight camp, she's not winning that. I think the short notice, the elevation certainly helped. It gave me the confidence I needed to place a bet. I don't think a full fight camp was going to matter there. I do think Tracy Cortez was going to steamroll Miranda Maverick. That was her original matchup. She was definitely going to steamroll Miranda Maverick. She had another week to prepare. I mean, she looked good against Rose in 5 rounds at elevation. She was going to beat the piss out of Miranda Maverick 3 rounds in Las Vegas. Guys, those are my thoughts on the fights. I'm standing out here. I mentioned my phone is propped on top of a trash can. You can see that one where people smoke in. That's what my phone is on right now. And I'm just in the corners watching people walk by, look at me, wondering what the hell I'm doing. Probably like, oh, here's another travel influencer. I'm not. Anyway, thanks for the watch. I appreciate it. I have already recorded. It is already uploaded, and it might already be live by the time you're watching this. The UFC Vegas 94 full card breakdown. I already have 3 bets on that card. Thank you guys for everything. I appreciate every last one of you, and we will be back to our normal schedule this week.